Stay home for Labour, isolate solidarity. Let's get together on Zoom, see into people's bedrooms. We're all voyeurs for free. Stay home for Labour, with Crispin as your MC. Get used to the smell of your fragrant hand gel, hands like an ancient mummy. I said stay home for Labour, wave your toilet rolls in the air real quick. Have a laugh, have a sup, keep your spirits up, 'cause when this is all over, we've got some asses to kick.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats for Stay Home for Labour. Please welcome your host, Crispin Flintoff.
Hello, and welcome to Stay Home for Labour. How are you all doing? How are you doing, Alison?
I'm good, thank you, Crispin.
We've got a very, very busy show today. We've got our normal 45-minute show, and then we've got a discussion after that. And we've got loads of people who are logging in, and it's going to be a fantastic show. The last one we had about 20,000 views, didn't it? Is that right, Alison?
About 20,000, yeah, it's amazing.
And Mark, are you there?
Good, are you?
Have you got your pan and spoon ready?
Pan, spoon.
Because that's for when we do the discussion later on after the main show. We're going to do a discussion on the 2017 general election and what the repercussions of the Labour leaks were, we think, on our chances of winning that election. So we're going to be talking to people from constituencies where Labour had a good chance and may well have won if there'd been more support. So we'll find out from them what they think. But to start off the whole show, we've got a fantastic act who was part of the Stand Up for Labour show at the conference in Liverpool back in, when was that?
Good.
Oh no, I've got the wrong person. Hold on. Oh my God.
It'll come out as Gary Thomas.
I've invited the wrong person to speak. No, I haven't. I have got. Are you there, Gerry?
I certainly am. Can you hear me?
Oh, right, Gerry. Thank you for putting up with my problem with clicking on mute on here. But anyway, you did a show at the Liverpool Stand Up for Labour during the party conference 2 years ago.
That's
right. I remember it. You totally tore the roof off. It was quite a low ceiling as well, so it's quite dangerous for health and safety. But I'm just wondering, it's this week is the anniversary of Hillsborough, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a poem about Hillsborough. Would you be able to read that? Recite that. Perform that. I mean, you're actually more a performer than a poet, aren't you? Because actually,
a bit of both. Both. I try to embody both. Yeah, well, I'll just do it. This poem was written for Anne Williams, who's one of the Hillsborough campaigners, and it wasn't actually written for the Hillsborough victories or anything like that. It was written for her when she died, and she was such a visible and vivid campaigner that when she died, I thought, I'm going to write you a little poem that is just about you and about your involvement and how I feel about you. A little romantic, poetic-y thing. And then a couple of years later, they won that first case, and it was remarkable, and it was remarkable validation of hair and everything like that. And I just put it in the set, and as you say, with the roof off. Now I've not done this for a while, and let's hope I remember it. So it was dedicated to Anne Williams, and then of course it was dedicated to everybody involved in the Hillsborough campaign. This is called, and of course we didn't win the second time round, but it doesn't stop that first win being remarkable, or this campaign being remarkable. This is dedicated to all of them. It's called Love Fought the Law and the Law Lost. Because it is roar of life bubbling in the pool of life. Because it's not all you need, it's what you need. Because love freelands like seeds on a breeze, finding flower in fields of grief. Because love knows more than fact, acts, reacts. More than that, patience its way to the truth. Because love is old, love is youth. Love unbridled soars to the highest roof, and spring heals its way to you. Because love can get you into a whole lot of trouble, but it can also get you through. And a love loved at any cost means love fought the law and the law lost. Love in the mother, love in the brother, love in all the other roads, love in the cop, love in the hop, love in all the trendy modes, love in the pint, love in the cuppa, love in a downer, love in an upper, love in all the secret codes, love for the pause and love for the cause. Because love is reciprocal, political, and there's love leaden and laden in every road. Because it is engine and fire, light in the darkest quagmire. Because it's true. Gets to me, love gets to you. It's not all we need. It's what we need. And when we need, we do. Today, there's no love bigger than Liverpool, because today, love is truth. You loved your children so very much, and love loved at any cost means love fought the law and the law lost, because it is roar of life bubbling in the pool of life, because it's love. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gerry. Everyone's muted, so you can't hear their applause. You can see them on the screen, though. And you know, I think you're hard to describe, really, because you're not just a poet. I mean, you write like prose, and you've written plays, and you've done acting, and
Yeah.
say you're a performer, and you've got a very interesting perspective on what kind of society we live in.
Absolutely.
And you talked about this after the conference in Liverpool. You said you call it the bourgeois zeitgeist.
Yeah.
So
I think we're living through what I call the bourgeois zeitgeist, and we've been living through an intense velocity of it since austerity, but I think it's been going on for over 40 years, certainly since Thatcherism.
And what does that encompass? I mean,
well, it's interesting because I'd tell you where it comes from. It's in this book, which is called Manchester Isn't the Greatest City in the World, and its subtitle is The Rise and Rise of the Bourgeois Zeitgeist, and it has a whole treatise on what I perceive to be the bourgeois zeitgeist. And it comes from when I was very young in the 60s and in the 70s, I was brought up in an area of Liverpool which was by the docks, by the city centre, and really, really industrial. And there was something about that which was terribly wrong, because it wasn't terribly vocational. But there was something about it which was terribly right, in the fact that everybody that I knew, and my family and everybody around me, the working class, at the weekend went crazy because they all had money. And because they had money, because they worked in the local factories, they were able to readily join in with the societal conversation, which means they were workers, they were sporty, they were whatever it was, the pubs were full, and their involvement within their culture was vivacious and vivid and not always polite. I'm from Liverpool. We're not always polite, but it was certainly there. And now what I've noticed, and particularly in the last 10, 11 years, and certainly much longer than that, is how that working class voice has been taken out of the societal conversation, and how we're no longer, in a sense, I mean, some of us are, and we're no longer in it. And when that voice is being taken out of the societal conversation, the middle class voice, which this isn't me being anti-middle class, by the way, has become dominant. And because it's become dominant, everything around it has become for it. So everything that we do caters for that. So, and that's what I call the bourgeois zeitgeist, the rise and rise. It's a mutated version of a middle class that was once kept in its place, not in its place in a bad way, but by a very confident working class voice. So this mutated voice has become the dominant force within all our society. In effect, with all the bourgeois zeitgeist, because it is so dominant. And the thing which I find really difficult with it is that it's become so confident in its approach to life that we're all sort of mirroring it. Now we're trying to, it can only be as confident as it is because, well, it's got all the money, it's got all the things it needs to pay into the society that is built around it. And the working class voice and that working class energy and that working class vivacity and vibrance has been relegated and has become a kind of a part of a history that one is often accused of romancing, when in fact it really was a kind of ribald and confident place to be. Don't get me wrong, as I said, it was often a bit too ribald, but it was certainly, you know, when you talk of the working class, certainly of the 60s, 70s and early 80s, they were confident, they were intelligent, they were readers, they were this, that, the other, and they were there, they were in the societal conversation.
Well, you've certainly given me a good answer to that question there. And that, I mean, we've got a lot to go through. So I'm thinking maybe if you could read your very expressive working class voice about Margaret Thatcher.
It's that combative voice I want back in the conversation, Crispin. That's what you're saying. Oh, yeah, I'll read this last one because Liverpool isn't terribly fond of Margaret Thatcher, as you probably know, and her managed decline of our city nearly crippled us, but with Scousers, so it didn't. So I'll just read this as a kind of tribute to us, to the Scousers, and not to her. This is called Thatcher Just Isn't Dead Enough for Me. A wooden stake wouldn't have cut it. For that shit to work, you need a heart. A silver bullet between the eyes, take out the brainstem. Well, you know, a start. I'd have gladly got Vlad to impale her, Frankenstein's monster to assail her, the werewolf to rip off her limbs. But those monsters are fantasy, not the deranged, darkened reality of her ideologically driven, unholy, evil, sociopathic whims. You could kill her 1,000,000 billion times, but you see, no matter how unalive, how brown bread, Thatcher just isn't dead enough for me. First, they came for our children's milk. Now they want their food. Her balls still rolling with lives she's stolen. We're still screwed. Firing squad, slow poison nailed to our country's mood. It's just not enough for this anarchic puff and his ragtag ministry. No matter how kaput, and for every factory shut, Thatcher will never be dead enough for me. Now, let me say this compassionately. Throughout all the hate, mine is disgraced, and for clause 28, Thatcher will never be late enough for me. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good to see you again. I hope to see you another time for some more on this. Another time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Gerry.
Thank you.
I'm going to speak now to Sam. Are you there, Sam?
Hello, Crispin. How you doing, mate?
Oh, good to see you. I haven't seen you since you've become MP. Is that your lockdown room? You look like it looks like a real lockdown room you're in there.
Yes, so my boy can be downstairs playing and not interrupt Monahan in the background.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that.
It's quite funny. There's all these Zoom calls and you're seeing all these MPs in their sort of like loft attics and occasionally kids running past in the background. I feel that the job of an MP is just sort of one long Zoom call the last kind of week, really.
So you've I heard that you did a Zoom call with your CLP. You do that quite often, do you? Or
it was my first one. I'd done it on Thursday. We had about 35 or 36 people on it. It was quite good. So some people sent questions in before. I've done about a 20-minute kind of update. What's it, you know, what we've been up to over the last 3-4 weeks. And then there were questions on different issues, you know, sort of more casework stuff, but also people just asking about what's going on. 'Cause, you know, it's difficult to keep track, you know, asking me what I thought about what the government strategy was, and obviously all the recent developments in the Labour Party as well.
Oh, you did talk about the Labour. We can't talk. What about? Was it leaks or something? I heard something about leaks. Is it?
There was a small leak, yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to say before we say anything else that obviously any individuals named or anything like that leaves me or anyone open to legal action. So I'm encouraging nobody to talk about it, because it would actually put me in a lot of trouble to stand up for Labour if they do it on this show. But what's your feeling about the leaks and the culture that it described? Because you were working on Jeremy's campaign in 2017, weren't you? Were you part of his team, weren't you, on that election?
I was Jeremy's campaign manager in 2016 during the chicken coup. Obviously ran that campaign to get him in with an even bigger mandate the second time round. I mean, look, what I would say on this leaked report, and obviously all the allegations need to be proven, and I'll say a little bit about what I think about the process and stuff in a minute. But you know, for someone, I've been involved in the Labour Party since about 2005, about 15 years. You know, I came into politics through the anti-war movement in East London. I founded the local Redbridge Against the War, and I'm now the MP for Ilford, which is a big chunk of Redbridge. And I remember being involved in Young Labour, and certainly as a trade unionist, because I've come into it through, you know, various trade unions, I did feel that there was that kind of culture, particularly more on the student side of things. And in my dealings with people in party headquarters, so I remember I was the first person since I think the sort of early 90s or late 80s to win the chair of Young Labour from the left. And I'll be honest, I mean, there's shenanigans that went on even at that point for something as, to be honest, as trivial as being a chair of Young Labour. I remember they even tried, some of the party bureaucrats tried to stop me speaking at our own Young Labour conference, until obviously all the delegates kicked off and went bananas.
Wow.
And I think there is this long standing, and you know, as well before Jeremy's time, there was a culture that these people that are running the party, a certain clique of them, were, you know, the people that had all the knowledge, that they were entitled, a bit like those people around the Pope. I can't remember the name of them. There's this kind of like little kind of cadre of people that think they are the ones that have got all the knowledge and will hold all the power and access. Now, what I would say is the vast majority of party staff members are 100% committed to the Labour Party, 100% loyal, and work their absolute socks off. And I think one of the things we do need to bear in mind at the moment is that the vast majority of people currently working in Labour Party headquarters are people that actually joined or got appointed during, you know, the last 5 years of Jeremy's reign. And so the vast majority of those people are not people that have had any allegations mentioned about them in this report. But look, reading that report, you know, and seeing it and seeing these allegations, and obviously there are allegations until they're proven. But as someone who's, you know, been on the sharp end, really, you know, I sat in meetings dealing directly with, you know, former General Secretary of the Labour Party on behalf of Jeremy. And, you know, you had a real sense that things were being done directly against the interests of the party leadership and directly against the interests of the members. And, you know, seeing it there laid out in black and white is incredibly heartbreaking. And, you know, in my own local Labour Party, you know, we had someone that's been revealed in that report, you know, who's been a victim of racism and Islamophobia. And, you know, that stuff is just absolutely outrageous. You know, the party officials are supposed to be a neutral civil service to serve whoever is in the leadership of the party. And as I said, the vast majority of people who work for the Labour Party are good, decent people. There's just a few bad eggs, obviously. And so I think that the idea that, you know, we knew in 2017, look, let's be honest, in 2017, I don't think many people went into that election thinking, well, we're going to do quite as well as we did. But to find out that people had been allegedly, you know, deliberately undermining, you know, activities, siphoning funds off into different operations separate from the main Labour Party headquarters, and potentially even siphoning funds off to protect favoured sons and daughters who certainly weren't the ones that were aligned with Jeremy Corbyn, is pretty outrageous. So this investigation, in my view, does need to be really, really thorough. It needs to leave no stone unturned. And I think that, I'm hearing that there will be some very independent people leading it. In my mind, it needs to be a little bit like the sort of Truth and Reconciliation Commission. After the sort of stuff that happened in apartheid South Africa, people really felt they needed outside bodies to come in and to investigate just the horrors of what had gone on. And obviously, what's happened is not on that scale, but you get what I'm trying to say. And so I've heard that they might potentially... Sorry, Crispin.
No, I'm just thinking that, because we had a show on Wednesday and we had 1,000 people register for it, and we had 700 actually sign in and listen in to John McDonnell and stuff. But the anger is unbelievable. The members are so angry. It's like, I think it's the same as 2016 when the coup was going on. The amount of the idea that there's this kind of conspiracy to stop socialist candidates coming forward in the Labour Party that want to be putting forward progressive policies, and we want Labour to be transparent, so that everyone has a fair chance to stand. And the nepotism that was described in that report was really just confirmed a lot of people's experiences in local as well as national Labour, where they can't seem to get by because they're not in the right clique and they don't know the right people. And it wasn't about meritocracy of, who's the best candidate. It's about who knows the person who's appointing them. And that isn't going to help Labour, is it? I mean, that needs to be sorted out, don't you think? I mean, the whole culture of nepotism in the party, for example.
Absolutely. And I think that, certainly we didn't get everything right when Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party either. And I think that this is a moment at which we really need to kind of draw the curtain back, drag everything, as difficult as it is from whatever part of the party you come from, into the sunlight, and have a full and frank discussion about what on earth has gone wrong, and to put in place, the measures so this sort of stuff can never happen again. Because we do need people to come from, a far more diverse range of backgrounds. We still struggle to get enough people from working class backgrounds in as MPs and councillors, and we've got far further to do in terms of, actually we've done okay in terms of women in the PLP. We've actually got a majority of women, although that's ironically because we lost seats. But in terms of black and minority ethnic members, there is a lot more work to be done. And I think that what's been revealed is that there is there's been a clique of people that have, essentially, had that control. And I'm aware that's happened in local government. I was a councillor for 8 years. I certainly, had other forces in the party trying to deselect me, even though I've been a perfectly good councillor. And so I think it all needs to be dragged out into the light. I do think that the allegations are serious enough that I would personally be in favour of seeing people who have had allegations made against them actually be suspended from the Labour Party pending investigation. And, it is in the power of the General Secretary, Jenny Formby, to actually do that. Because I think, the thing I find in my local CLP is people just, are so outraged, they're so shocked. You're right, it is a bit like the coup in 2016. It actually reminds me of Iraq, actually, about how angry Labour Party members are. And I think that, we've seen, obviously, someone forced to step down from their position in the House of Lords, and I think that's absolutely right. But I do think, given that we know that there are party members who've been potentially suspended on far more minor misdemeanours than the allegations in this report, I think that would be a positive step forward. And I personally am calling on the General Secretary to step in, because actually it isn't the leader of the Labour Party or the deputy leadership who have the power to do that. It actually resides with the General Secretary. So I think it would be important that happens. And it should be done without fear or favour, whether those people are from any particular quarter of the party. Because, as I say, if we're going to move forward, we need to have a fundamental redesign of how the Labour Party headquarters works, and at a local level and at a regional level, so that this sort of stuff can never go on again. Because, look, the Labour Party leadership moves to the left, it moves to the right. and that's happened over its 100-year history, and it'll probably happen for the next 100 years as well. But the one thing that we need to, all of us, who give up our time on wet Saturday mornings to go and campaign, you know, spend hours and hours and, you know, slogged our guts out in that 2017 election, we need to know that all of the people that are paid for by trade union subscriptions and by membership subscriptions are working 100% behind the leadership of the party and to achieve one thing only, and that is a Labour Party victory in any election.
Oh, thank you, Sam. I'd love to talk more, but I'm committed to making sure we get more people in. So it's good to see you.
Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks, Crispin.
Thanks, Sam. Now, I'm making a bit of a gamble here because I don't know if it's the right person, because you can't tell on these things who it is, but I'm hoping that Mark is someone. I'm hoping that I can find someone who might well be. Are you there, artist? Is that you? No, it's not. He's not. It's not the right artist. It's just someone in a dark room. I got the wrong one.
Could be, but he's not there.
He's not there. Is that Art? Who's Art Grimley? I don't know. I'll try. Is that you, artist?
I'm not an artist.
No, it's the wrong art. It's the wrong art.
Hi, Crispin. He's here. I'm just unmuting him now.
Is he here?
Yep. Yeah, he's unmuted now. Hello, Mark.
Are you there, artist?
Artist taxi driver.
Yes, the artist taxi driver. That's who I'm looking for, and that's you there. I thought I was going to let everyone down, and they'd think, you know, they'd come here under false, you know, whatever, false advertising. But how are you doing? You're not in your car. Is that because of the? Is that because of the lockdown? Can you not?
You're
get
not
out?
allowed out. You're not allowed out.
Can you not go in your car though, just to?
I try not to. No, I don't think that'd be appropriate. I just don't want to go outside at all.
Oh, all right. Are you keeping well though? Your family all well?
Yeah, everyone's good.
And
how's yourself? How's your family?
Oh, we're locked down. I'm washing my hands all the time, and you know,
extraordinary, isn't it? Like I wake up every single day, and I really like that first few moments of the day when I wake up quite early. I'm thinking, is this real?
And are you? Is it affecting you? Do you finding it all right for mentally? Are you? How do you think that's going to work out? Because I mean, I'm finding it quite stressful being locked in and having the same people and not being able to go out and meet people. And
well,
stuff.
I think it's good. I've been doing lots of painting and that. Obviously, I do a 2-minute newspaper review in the morning, every single morning. But yeah, I mean, I keeping up with the news, but try not to be in it all the time. So yeah, lots of family stuff, lots of painting. But whenever I touch the news, it's like, it's horrific out there. You see things like you can't believe. You know, they've got no equipment, unarmed forces, nurses, doctors, carers, going in with people with the most vicious virus, and they're having to go into rooms where it's a violent death. It's like people are gasping for breath for the last few days, you know, choking, drowning, and the nurses and doctors and carers. I mean, the carers, it's a killing fields. You know, I see today that over the last 6 years, the Tories have cut 40% of the stockpile of PPE. Matt Hancock was answering questions about that. But they're herd immunity, let's take it on the chin. It's probably killed, like, it's going to kill tens of thousands of people, and there's no comeuppance for it. You know, not being partisan or anything like that, but these people are dangerous people. Boris Johnson, Cummings, Matt Hancock, you know, and the media is dangerous as well. It's a serious issue. That they're getting away with it, which is really, you know, how does that bode for the future? You know, the decisions they've made now Boris Johnson, he's in fucking checkers. He's got his feet up, gravy dribbling off his chin in a grace and favour mansion, and there's doctors and nurses going in with no equipment, with no protection. You know, it's maddening. And then you see them clapping, and then you see Major Tom, you know, like a 99-year-old guy walking up and down the garden raising 20 million, and Matt Hancock did 20 million on some antivirus antibody bloody tests that are useless.
Yeah.
And then people are out clapping, giving them a badge. And what they do, you know, what the media does is it holds on to those stories. Major Tom, they're clapping, and they use those stories as a smother for the government. You know, these are our front pages. Like today, I do the papers every day. Today, the whole thing is we're going to get a vaccine by autumn. You know, they're not holding the government to account. And what's happening is every day today, nearly another 1,000 dead. You know, and this is real time stuff. You haven't even got to look back. Look what they're doing today. You know, when Boris Johnson was saying, like, you know, I've been shaking hands with coronavirus and it's the GDP is more important, you know, the cure doesn't have to be as... Look what they're doing today, right now, today. It's like they're sending people to their deaths. Do you know what I mean? It's maddening that that the people that we, like, year after year, we went on NHS marches, you know, from the beginning of austerity, trying to, like, get better pay, get better conditions, you know, trying to save the NHS. And I mean, carers, they're on a pittance. Can you even imagine being a carer? And, like, some of them are moving into those care homes. You know, they don't even want to count the dead. They don't even want to count the dead.
Yeah, it's a very scary time, and like you say, it's almost unbelievable. It's like you can't really believe every day you get up and there's this scenario that we're in, and what we're doing on these shows is just trying to get people connected, because I actually think, I mean, I'm sure you agree with me that, you know, because what you do with your blogs is you keep people connected, and that's really important for everyone's well-being, is just feeling part of a community in some way, to feel that we're not isolated, because the isolating is terrible for me personally. If I'm isolating all the time, it puts me in a terrible space. So, you know, what we're doing here is we're trying to get people together, and in a way we're building a kind of movement for post-corona.
Yeah, but this is what's happening, isn't it? So this is like everything. This is like how people morph into, like, this is capitalism. How capitalism will create jobs. How we create, like, different things. Like, as an artist, going from performance art into when YouTube come along and Twitter. Now everyone's Zooming. Capitalism will do the same thing. It will look out how to make money. You know, Jeff Bezos, 24 billion. What's he earned? Like, something like this. This is a guy who's like creaming it. Won't even pay his staff sick leave. Yeah. You know, and where are we in that? You know, we have a government that has the power to do lots of different things that it will never do. You know, it's basic stuff, and all they want to do is give them a fucking badge. It's like, do you know what? You know what really annoys me is how little worth we give ourselves. You know, like, whether it's a fucking medal, whether it's a badge, whether it's, like, you know, a clap, it's how little, you know, where it's so sad. It makes me so sad that our lives, people giving their lives, do you know what I mean, to help people. You know, in the end, it's like people are dead, carers are dead, nurses are dead, doctors are dead. Thousands of them. You know, we're heading to be the worst in the whole of Europe. We're looking, a couple of weeks ago, they said 5,000. And then he said, if we got 20,000, it'll be really good. Even today, we're 15,000, probably gone through 20 already because they don't even want to count the deaths. And you're sitting there thinking, you know, what have you got for that? A fucking badge. You got a badge, or you got a clap. And there's people out clapping now because it's like, I understand why people are clapping, but they go out. This is part of the way that they're constructing the narrative. You know, isn't it great? Don't you feel emotional? Isn't it really wonderful? What would be great is if they had like fucking proper visors, do you know what I mean? Masks and things. Because when you go into that room and all that spittles in the air and the droplets of the coronavirus, they need protecting and they've got nothing at all. It's like fucking, it's like gambling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're left feeling angry every day. That's why I sit down and do the watercolours. And yeah, it's true, because I just see someone putting up there, like Piers Morgan's the only one holding the government to account. You know, honest to God, if you was like Keir Starmer, if you was any Labour, you'd be screaming. You'd be absolutely screaming. I don't see any emotion at all. You know, I don't see emotion in it. It's almost like, and people like to see some other things. Ask Mark about like what they think about the Labour leaks. It's horrific, isn't it? It's like they want to stop you. They want to stop like anything good. I've been out in America before the coronavirus. I was out with Bernie. I was there with Nina Turner. It was fucking amazing. AOC. It's like you have these chances, and it's like the people that you think, which is sort of like, you know, that pretend that they care or things like that. When it comes down to it, politically, they have no motivation to do the right thing. They have no motivation whatsoever. And the only motivation they have is some sort of like warped sense that, you know, that if you gave a little bit of power, like to the left, whatever the left means, do you know what I mean? What did that end up meaning with Bernie Sanders or Corbyn? But exactly, like free transport, like universal basic services, you know, free internet, you know, like what the fuck? Do you know, it's pathetic. It's pathetic.
Look,
and
Mark,
you see
I don't
Boris
want
now. You see Boris now. His approval rating has gone through the roof.
Yeah,
his approval rating has gone through the roof.
He's been a victim of the virus, isn't he? So he's
yeah, but it doesn't even you know, there's no accountability. He's probably killed tens of thousands of people. This isn't Orwellian or 1984 or Big Brother. You see Matt Hancock the other day. This is real life. You know, this is
Mark,
real life.
I'd like
ultimately, what happens?
Mark, I know that we have this often at the gigs, don't we? That I have to get a poll out. Listen,
I'll leave you with this image. He's there. He's got servants. He's wrapped around. He's in checkers. He's gone from Sudoku with cultural references, talking about Netflix. He ain't fucking listening to Netflix. He's listening to some fucking Greek opera. You know what I mean? In front of a blazing fire. And the gravy just dribbling, just drop.
That's a nice way to finish. Thank you, Mark. I'll catch up with you another time. Yeah, you come back on again.
Yeah, mate.
All right. Cheers. Well, we're running a bit late on because I love hearing Mark, and I wanted to hear Sam and Gerry as well. So we're gonna I'm gonna go straight into Don. Are you there, Don?
Everyone unmuted, by the way.
No, you're not. You're unmuted now. I can see
everyone else unmuted.
I saw you pick your nose there as well, by the way. But
sorry,
it doesn't matter.
Just checking if everyone else is unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Is everyone else unmuted? Just wanted to know. That's all.
No, it's only me, you, and everyone else is muted. So what I was going to
cheers, thanks. How's it going anyway?
I was going to ask you, Don, what's your take on these Labour leaks then?
Before I start on the Labour leaks, can I just say that I was clapping on Thursday night for the Tory MPs, 8 o'clock. Because remember, Tory MPs are carers too. Unfortunately, they only look after themselves. My opinions on the Labour leaks, well, this is the way I feel. It's all allegedly so far. I mean, I was taking a look at, and for those Labour members there who don't know what the Labour leaks are, and most of you will, it's basically, it's when members of the right wing, supposedly of the party, try to undermine left wing members and supposedly cost us the election. And that's what the Labour leaks is. And after I researched this, I was looking at some internet porn, Crispin, just so I can watch fewer people getting fucked.
Oh, right. Okay.
Supposedly, my take on this is...
Can I just put a little apology to anyone who's got children or watching or anything like that? Carry on, Don.
Yeah, sorry about that. My take on this, if it's true, then it's really horrible. Because, like one of your speakers previously told, there's a lot of people, like Sam said, there's a lot of people who put the man hours in. I mean, during the 2017 and 19 elections, I did more door knocking than a Jehovah's Witness. A few more things as well. One of the supposed things about the Labour leaks, and if it's true, I think people should be suspended and so forth, but we don't know yet. But apparently one of the supposed things, as Sam said, was that left-wing Labour candidates were underfunded. Now, if I become a left-wing Labour candidate, I don't need party funding. I'm already a British Asian Hindu stand-up comedian with dyspraxia, Asperger's, and ADHD. Therefore, I can get my funding from the Arts Council. and a couple more things before I'd like to say is, the problem with this leak is, if it's true, that those people in power, the people who have in power, whether it's a Conservative or members of the Labour Party, tend to be psychopaths or narcissists. And the problem I find with most narcissists is they never talk about me. And finally, one thing, I want to end on a positive note. Any Labour members out there, there's a few hundred, come and celebrate my 50th birthday with me online. I'll be celebrating indoors. I'm only 37, but I think that's how long the lockdown will last. Thank you, and sorry for swearing.
No, well, yeah. Thanks for the apology. Patrick, are you there?
Yeah. Hello, Crispin. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So, how have you been? You've got another piece of good artwork behind you there. Is that David Hockney you got there now? Did you get that at Aldi?
How did you know that? It's Hockney. I didn't even know. You know, I thought it was Elton John, but it's actually Hockney. It's an artist. It's. Do you know what it is?
It was Elton John. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's because my partner, my missus, you know, Lily, she's doing one of these things which has happened a lot to people, you know, during the lockdown, where people have been stuck in the house and they've just been making these crazy purchases online. That's what it like, the print, it was cheap. She's gone and bought, it's affecting people's attitudes and the way they act. She went and bought, you wouldn't believe it, Crispin, she went and spent £30 on cravats for our dog. Right, we haven't got any food to eat for the next couple of weeks, but she's gone and bought these. Look at this, right? These were about £8 each, right? I said to her, are you mad? I said, this lockdown could go on for months. And she said, yeah, but the dog will look great on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. It'll have a different outfit while we're eating grass in the park. So, and then to be fair, I've done the same. I've been a bit daft online. No one's got any money, but you know when you're just looking online and you just think, oh, God, I've got to do something. So I ended up buying a hot tub. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Woucher. Do you know Woucher, Crispin? I don't know if anyone here knows it.
No.
But basically, it's a website. It's got email. It sends you a thing where it has like discount, 90% discount and stuff. And there was like, one of the things there was a personalized photo blanket, which is just a blanket made of photos, you know, like stuff like that. And I mean, exactly, that's why there's a 90% discount on it. I think they pay you to take it. But with this hot tub, I thought, well, I'll get one. It was only a couple of quid, but we haven't got a garden. So what I've done is I've put it on, you know where we live, there's a roundabout near the A406. I've just put it on the roundabout there. There's a bit of grass. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully during the lockdown, I'm just going to let people go and use the hot tub, just to, obviously, social distancing and a bit of camaraderie. One of the things I'll just tell you very quickly, and this is very important, because I always try and focus on the positive news. And I don't know if you saw this in the news this week, because it is full of, have actually fallen by 90% due to self-isolation, which I think is fantastic.
What's fallen? You got cut off. What's fallen by 90%?
80 extramarital affairs. So people having affairs at home has fallen by 90% during self-isolation, which I think is fantastic. I think everyone, I mean, I don't even know who is still having an affair. But what's most surprising is Moripole and these people are carrying out these researches. I mean, who the hell's answering the door during a lockdown? Hey there. We're just from Moripole. We just want to know, are you having an affair? Yeah, and I'll be like, I'm not, but I'll just check with the missus. Are you having an affair? They just want to know. And she's like, what? I'll ask, what sort of time frame? Is it in the last couple of months or just for the last 3 weeks? Yeah, just the last 3 weeks, look. Yeah, she is, yeah. So I was just thinking, it's one of these things where, and I think you've got to be really positive. I don't know if we've got any time left, but there's loads of other news stories I can tell you next time.
We might be running out of time, but
okay, I'll tell you next time.
It's good to see you. You're looking well. Your hair looks
thank
good.
you.
Your hair looks good.
Yeah,
You've done it, haven't you?
I've been cutting that myself. And
I wouldn't have been able to tell that, Patrick.
I think this is why my missus is out having an affair. I think she's sleeping with the hairdresser. Look at this. I look like, I don't know if you've seen Tiger King yet, but I'm trying to be like Joey Essex. Not Joey Essex. This is how long I've
see the back of mine. Look at the mullet here. Look at this.
That's good.
You like that?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah. Do you know what you could do with that?
Though. You can't cut the back, can you?
Yeah, but don't. You know what you should do with that? You should take that, and if you've got any friend who are a bit soft on the top, you can sell that to them. If they go to the toilet, you take that bit off and put it on the top bit. You'd make a killing. During this lockdown isolation, that's probably one of the biggest income earners.
All right. Oh, well, thanks for that. I'll have a look at that. Thank you, Thank you, Patrick. I'm gonna move on to Ed. Aczel, are you there, Ed?
I am. How are you?
I'm good. So Ed, you were going to show us your garden when we spoke last time, but I suppose it's a bit bad. The weather's not too good out there, is it?
Well, have a look.
Oh, is that your garden? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, more of a
garden.
Yeah, it's more of a yard. More of a yard.
Have you got? Oh, right. So, and what do you do out there? Do you do your exercise out there?
No, I paint it white. That's what I do. I paint it. Generally paint.
How often do you paint it?
Well, during the lockdown, I've been painting it every day.
What? So it's permanently wet paint then?
Well, pretty much. It doesn't seem to be drying, some of it. But anyway, I've decided.
How's your mental health during the lockdown? It doesn't sound like you're...
No, not good.
Not good. No? Are you struggling with being unable to go out?
Yeah, I just want to get out.
You just want to get out. Are you a sporty type normally? Do you want to?
No, I don't want to do any exercise. I want to go and sit in a coffee shop or I don't know, go to the cinema or something, or you know.
Is that what you're just eating cake in a coffee shop? Oh,
yeah, just eat cake or something. I don't know. Go to a pub. I never go to pubs, but you know, go and sit in a pub. Wouldn't that be nice?
Are you running out of supplies? Anything? Have you got all toilet roll and stuff like that?
I've got. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I've got plenty of toilet roll. Go to Sainsbury's once a week. It's great.
Are you wearing a mask? Do you wear a mask?
No. Well, no. I have actually got a couple of masks, but I haven't been wearing them. I just think that's, sort of fashion.
You're not worried about it.
No.
Do you have hand sanitizer?
No. Well, I do actually. I do have a bit of hand sanitizer, but I've not used it so far.
Oh, okay.
I did use hand sanitizer once when I went into Wilko, because they were offering it free.
We're really running short, so we're going to have to catch up with you again on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
I want to hear more about your lockdown experience, and keep painting that wall.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to hear from Suzy Are you there, Suzy?
Hello. Hi.
How are you doing?
I've missed you guys because you did like a proper serious one on Thursday, didn't you? And you had loads of numbers. So I thought, oh, how exciting. I might have to make an effort. So I thought I'd put that on. Yeah. So I've made an effort for all the new viewers. I am actually wearing a kimono because none of my clothes fit anymore. I kind of did an experiment the other day and put my best bra on, and it was like a tourniquet cutting me in half. So I'm just going to wear a dressing gown and then just do this. And obviously I bought this for a wedding years ago and never got to wear it again, so why not, eh? But yeah, you've got loads of new viewers, and I thought, well, maybe I need to start getting a bit more political. So I thought, well, I can talk about the Houses of Parliament, because this has been a talking point quite a lot. I watch a lot of daytime telly, and Eamon Holmes was talking about this running out in the shops the other day. It actually was only a few months ago that I knew it was named after the Houses of Parliament, even though there's a picture of actual Houses of Parliament on it. That's the kind of intelligence we're dealing with. So I'm going to auction this later. So if anybody wants to join me on Twitter, I'll auction this off. Yeah, those of you who haven't joined before, I'm obviously the one with the hot takes on the political stuff, and I've got a lot of Colombo merchandise. So if you haven't seen these before, there you go. There's my knickers. But yeah, generally I'm doing the same as I was last week. I'm still eating. I've been trying to be a bit more mindful of the key workers. I've been helping out the bin men because I've switched to boxes of wine rather than bottles. So you're welcome, lads. Just helping their workload a bit there. I've been enjoying the clap every Thursday night. That's nice. And obviously I like the attention. So now and again, I'll just take a little bow just for my own gratification. But yeah, I do miss performing. I miss the attention. You know, we like a lot of attention, don't we, as comics? I'm one of those people, I'll mark myself safe in a Greek earthquake on Facebook, but I'll be in Matalan. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice seeing you lot. I mean, all your hair looks amazing. I'm actually going to start sending bribes to my hairdresser to let me in first, because I'm getting roots here. And it's ruining my cred because, you know, not everyone knows you're not a natural blonde. But if you peek under my armpits, that will give the game away. Because, like I said, I am growing my armpit hair until Cineworld reopens. So that's my cause I'm fighting for. But I just hope that the Lido doesn't open before Cineworld, because I'll have to go to the Lido in with hairy armpits. But I've been inspired by Tom Moore as well. What an amazing man. He's been walking up and down and raising loads of money. I did some sit-ups the other day. Well, they weren't really sit-ups. I just put my crisps slightly further away, so I had to kind of reach for it. So that's kind of my regime. What else is? Oh, and I've got some news. I've met a man. I've been having a romance. I've been having this whirlwind romance. It's quite a nice story, actually. It took me by surprise. He met me on Facebook. He sent me a message and told me that he thought I was beautiful. We got chatting, and he's not. I'm from Devon, and he's not here, unfortunately. He's in the US Marines, so you know, it's quite a long distance thing. But I've never known a man to show so much interest in me. Honestly, he asks me lots of things about myself. I mean, the other day he even wanted to know what my mother's maiden name was and my first pet. So I had a little chat about that. But yeah, he's going to come over and visit me. But at the moment, because he's in the Marines, he's on a secret mission or something, and he can't video call. But we've been sending pictures, and he's a silver-haired man. He looks like a model. And yeah, he said he needs, because his pension's not coming out until later, he needs me to just help him with some money to get the flight over. But it's been really lovely, and so, you know, wish me luck, everybody. I'm really excited about it. But yeah, I'll let you go because I know you're very busy. But it's always lovely to speak to you. But can I just say, I got a little bit. I know I'm always like laughing and joking around, but when Gerry did the poem earlier, especially the love one, my dad was born in Liverpool and he passed away 6 months ago yesterday. And that poem was lovely. And he was a working class man, and he worked in a Toshiba for quite a lot of his time, and he was a musician and he did lots of different jobs. He worked hard all his life. And then by the time he got his money, he was too sick to enjoy it. But I have got this little message there for everyone. I don't know if you can see that. Is that backwards?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But this is because we played this at his funeral, and he was a big Beatles fan. And you know, we raised lots of money for the hospice. And if it weren't for the lovely volunteers and the staff at the hospice and the NHS, he would have, you know, it would have been a lot worse, but he was able to be at home with us and peaceful. So, you know, I think about that a lot when I think about all the people that are working and about all those poor people that are not able to say goodbye. So we were the lucky ones, and we think he got out just in time. So anybody else who's got anyone that's poorly, my heart goes out to you. And that's it, really. I'll see you again soon. Columbo's on somewhere. Have a look on your channels, and that'll cheer you up for the weekend. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you, Susie. And look, so what we're going to do, now is we're going to go into a discussion about the Labour leaks, and we've got people from different constituencies who've all signed up for this discussion, and we're going to talk about specifically. We obviously know that the party was. The Central Party was not supporting Jeremy Corbyn as well as they could during that election campaign. And I am curious to know what the impact was on seats that Labour could have won and didn't win. So I'd like to ask Libby to start on this. Libby, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Crispin. Hi.
So you're in Brighton. There were quite a few seats down in Brighton during 2017 that Labour were quite tight, you know, marginals and stuff. The one that I'm most interested in is Hastings, because that was Amber Rudd's seat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think Labour could have won that seat if they'd had some more resources? What was your experience of that election?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually at the time, I was campaigns officer in Kemp Town, and so I was heavily involved in the campaign to get Lloyd Russell Moyle elected, and that was a struggle in itself because the party didn't fund it, and at the time we were hearing rumours that they were only defending seats, which you can't win an election if you only defend the seats you've got, because we didn't have a majority of seats. So if that rumour that we were hearing at the time is true, then overall that shows that the strategy wasn't actually to try and win. It was simply to maintain the number of seats we had and stay in opposition. Yeah, Hastings is down the road from me, and it became clear, you know, myself and other comrades, that we could win Hastings. It was Amber Rudd's seat, and it became clear we could win it. And I was in Momentum at the time, and friends in Momentum were trying to get comrades to go there. And they fought a really hard fought battle, and they came within about 50 seats of winning.
50 votes.
50 votes of winning. And clearly, you know, anyone who's been canvassing, you know, when you go canvassing, you know, canvassing helps to persuade people to vote Labour. And you would have only needed to send maybe 50 or 100 comrades there for a couple of weekends, and we would have won. That's how close we came. That's how close we came in Hastings. That's just, you know, it was a travesty that the party wasn't sending people to Hastings. I mean, and in Kemp Town, I mean, when we launched our campaign, we had a little party in Whitehawk Football Club. Whitehawk Football Club is...
Now, Libby, I just want to tell you that I just want to let you and everyone else be aware that we have a limit on how long...
Oh, you're going to gong me, Crispin.
And we've got Mark here. Mark is going to bang his drum.
I'm being a bit liberal. I'm being a bit liberal at the front end, Crispin, so that Libby can frame it. And I was engrossed. So from now on, the pan and the spoon are out.
We're running late already, so we've got to. But we've definitely got a case that Libby, you've got a case that Hastings was a seat that Labour could have won. Now I want to move on now to Gary Clay. Are you there, Gary? Oh no, I unmuted him by mistake. Let me have a look again. Unmute. Gary, are you there?
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. Yeah, thanks, Crispin.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I like your
that's all right.
background picture. I like the buses. I like my little 2-year-old. He goes crazy about buses. So
Oh, does he? Well, as we can't go out, I thought I'd put something just to tempt people. Yeah.
Now you're in Southampton,
Itching. That's right.
which
Yeah.
was the lowest. That Labour's, what was it? The
most marginal.
Tell us the vote again. Sorry,
We lost by 31 votes.
31 votes.
31 votes in 2017.
What happened with the National Party and Southampton Itching? Were they giving you enough money, enough support?
No, absolutely not at all. The plan was, as Libby said, it wasn't a rumour. We were actually told that they were, they were worried about losing Test, which is over the water, where we had a Labour MP, and they were basically sending all the resources over there. So even some of the members in Itching were told to go and to go and defend Test. So Southampton Test, and he ended up winning by, I think it was a majority of 10,000. But yeah. Shocking.
So you certainly think that Southampton Itching would have been won if you'd had even a small amount of support from
small amount. We didn't have we had lots of different campaign centres at just probably about 5-10 people in each. Unlike I think that obviously I don't know about Test, but I think they had a bigger one when obviously they had more organisation and stuff. So yeah, it was really, really bad. The thing as well that annoyed me more than anything was about a week beforehand, the polls were saying, "Oh, it could win. Labour could win it. Labour could win it." And we were saying, "Come on, we need to put more resources into here." And they were like, "No." Yeah.
So you actually raised that point to them about a poll, and they said no.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone. I mean, I remember it. There's sort of like polls saying that Labour could, do you know what I mean, win, or they've certainly, Southampton was, winnable. It come out in one of those Maury polls or whatever it was. Can't remember now.
All right, well, I'm going to move on, but that's really interesting. And your story, so we've had Hastings and Southampton now. So I'd like to move on to Phil in Middlesbrough. I'm just going to unmute you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm loud and clear.
What's your story about Middlesbrough South and I was going to East? What is it? Cleveland, East Cleveland. Yeah. So that was a marginal. Or Labour lost that seat, didn't they? They had it before.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, Labour had the seat from about 1997. Ashok Kumar died in post, and he was succeeded by Tom Blenkinsop. And Tom resigned. He was a vocal opponent of Jeremy Corbyn. He alienated an awful lot of the membership. I'm a relatively new member to the party. I joined in 2015. Didn't get active in the party really until 2016, and when the 2017 election came around, I was a ward organiser. So I was involved locally, like thousands of people up and down the country. And the thing I was struck by, and whether this relates to what's come out in the recently document, I don't really know, but I was struck by kind of a lack of competence really within the Labour Party machinery. They knew that Blenkinsop was going to stand. We probably didn't have a candidate in place for the first 4 weeks of the election. We didn't get campaign literature coming through. And we had hundreds and hundreds of activists who wanted to go out and did go out and did a great job. Tracy Harvey, who was our candidate, she worked tirelessly. And she actually pulled in the biggest number of votes, much bigger than the previous incumbent. So she did a great job, had a positive swing in the percentage of votes. But we felt that at the time, we just felt that it was from the Labour perspective, in terms of Labour North and support we were getting, it kind of came late. It was really just quite depressing, really, because an awful lot of hard work went in and we felt we just didn't get support. Now, as I say, whether that's just down to incompetence or whether there was any kind of more fundamental kind of nefarious reasons to play, who will know? We probably will never know. But I think one of the big issues that I felt, and many new members like myself felt, was that I mean, I'd never been active in politics until I joined the Labour Party in 2015, and the MP at the time, who, as I say, kind of resigned the post, said he didn't want to stand because Jeremy Corbyn was the leader. He alienates a lot of people, and myself, I was labelled like a lot of people who joined the party, labelled as a trot and an extremist. I'm thinking, I'm a Labour voter. So I felt that, you know, we were almost looked down upon by the more kind of central, if you want to kind of call them, more right-wing elements of the party. And it seemed to be those people who had their hands on the levers of power and just didn't want to let go. So yeah, it was really depressing time. We came really close, and we lost 1,000 votes. I think the other thing to think about a bit up in this neck of the woods as well, that in 2050, the previous general election, UKIP stood, and UKIP polled about 7,000 votes, and UKIP didn't stand in 2017, and those were predominantly at that stage mainly Tory voters. So it was a really tight thing, and I think with more resources, and certainly just to something basic, I mean, political parties are there to actually you know, get MPs into Parliament, and the whole process of actually getting our candidate, it was woefully slow. It was painfully, pitifully slow. We lost a good month to 6 weeks of campaigning, and despite that, we came really close. So yeah, it was a really kind of sad time, and a lot of people were disaffected by the way they were treated by the party as well. We feel.
So what you're kind of talking about, as much as the leaks, is this culture of a clique dismissing another hard-working people who are keen and enthusiastic about participating and shutting them out, and therefore making it very difficult to win. Even if it wasn't the resources, it was this kind of atmosphere that made it hard to participate. I'm going to move on. I'm going to
absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil. So I'm trying to get as many of these members from across the country as I can. I'm just going to talk to Ryan in Bolton. Are you there, Ryan?
Hi, you're right.
Oh, good to see you, Ryan. I've met you a few times.
You're okay.
In Bolton. Now having been to Bolton, it's like one of the most known marginals. I mean, it was one of the wasn't the Labour defeat in 2015 something ridiculous, like under 100 votes, wasn't it?
No, so Julie won her seat in 2010 by 97 or 98 votes, but she lost it in 2015 by around about 1,000. Now, when it came to the 2017 general election, there wasn't much movement on that majority for the Tories. It came slightly less, but I think that definitely if we'd have had some more support and funding from the party, then we could have probably pushed the Tories to probably win that seat. I remember actually that on election night that the exit poll showed that we had a 90% chance of winning, and I was literally scratching my head thinking how that had happened, because we had such a lack of support from the party nationally and regionally. No funding, no regional organisation. We had to rely a lot on Momentum, which were great, a great organisation at the time. They helped us out a lot. They used to send probably, you know, to each campaign session we had at least 3 dozen members on the knock. But I think if we'd have probably had that regional support, maybe a paid organiser at the time, that we might have been able to been a bit more effective.
Right, and so you're not certain that you'd have won, but you think it would have made quite a big. It might have made enough.
Yeah, definitely. Who can say whether we'd have won or not? ultimately, because it's all retrospective now, and yeah, I think that the scandal that's come out with the WhatsApp group, Ian McNichol's WhatsApp group, has really shed light on how they really wanted us to be ineffective because they really didn't want a Jeremy Corbyn-led government. But I guess we'd never really know whether that had that much of an effect in seats like Bolton West, because the margin was pretty much the same from 2015 when we lost the seat. It was a catastrophe really from that perspective, that they were plotting behind the scenes to make sure that Jeremy Corbyn didn't get elected as the Prime Minister. But it's difficult really to say whether we would have won Bolton West if we had had a full support of the party. But yeah, I'm sure that like most people, they were optimistic at the time. We had the Great Manifesto. We were out on the knock talking to people about that, and people were responding in a positive way to that. But who knows now, I guess.
But I don't want to do too much on Bolton West, but I do, having been there, I mean, I have an affection for the town and the Horwich and everything. But what I'm thinking is that they lost in 2017, and then they lost even more in 2019. If Labour had won in 2017, then they may have been able to consolidate that seat. But it's harder now to imagine some of these seats in like Bolton and some like Middlesbrough we just talked about, where they've lost a hell of a lot now since 2017. It's not just about not winning that election. It's about how we've lost, thousands of voters.
I think the message didn't really get through at the 2019 general election as it did in 2017. I remember being stood on the doorstep talking to people for a considerable length of time about free internet. And that probably was the biggest issue at the time. Not even Brexit. I don't even think I had many people have a conversation with me about Brexit, because if they were voting on Brexit, they'd already made their mind up that the Labour Party wasn't going to push that through, whereas Boris Johnson and the Conservatives would. But I think that those other key policies that the Labour Party had in 2017, better education, fully funded NHS, they were getting through in 2017, and in 2019 they didn't, because we were consistently talking about a 4-day week, a 4-day working week, and a free internet and stuff like that.
Well, I suppose we don't need to go into. We can have another programme on 2019 . But anyway, thanks for
on the pan.
All right, thanks, Mark. I was just about to stop, Mark. It's a bit late there.
He was good. You were good, but there's others.
Andy, are you there? Andy in Worcester?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Crispin.
Yeah, I did a show in Worcester, I think, before 2017. But what's your story in Worcester? Do you think that what you've read from the leaks, do you think that you could have won in Worcester?
It's hard to say. I mean, we weren't then as marginal as other people that we've been hearing from, but we reduced Robin Walker. We're in West Midlands region. We reduced Robin Walker's majority to under just over 2,000. Now that sounds a lot, but actually, I mean, it was previously a Labour seat. We lost it in 2010, but we feel that we had no support really from region. We had a surge in membership from 250 to 850. We didn't really manage to convert that into an increase in activists on the doorstep, and I think that's pretty much the story across the country. So actually thinking about how we do convert this massive support we have in our membership to political activism would be a really interesting thing to think about at some stage. But yeah, we didn't receive much support from Momentum, which galled me really, because as a Momentum member, I remember going up to Stoke-on-Trent to help in the by-election there to get Gareth Snell elected, which, I feel really bad about now, considering how it all turned out there with himself. So we feel like, and Worcester is like country mice really. we're outside of the metropolitan areas, but actually for Labour to be in government, as well as winning in places like Scotland, we've got to win in places like Worcester.
Yeah.
What happened in 2017 was a lack of support that could have taken us, I believe, over the line, because Robin Walker was under threat, lots of threat then, because of his rubbish performance in cabinet. So those are the issues there. But there is a hangover from 2017 in Worcester. We, like many places, we have elections every single year. So 3 out of 4 years we have city elections. In the 4th year we have county elections. So we are constantly on an election footing. And actually, in the aftermath of 2017, we suffered in the local elections because of all the crap that was going on around anti-Semitism and all the hugely negative stuff that was going on in the media, which, you know, I think comes out of what was going on at the top of the Labour Party. And with a largely compliant media, they did their bidding for them. So we suffer locally. Now, you think that in Worcester, it's no overall control. 16 Tory councillors, 15 Labour, 3 Greens, 1 Lib Dem. There's a story here about the impact it's had on winning local authorities as well, not just general election.
Come on then. There are others, Crispin. I'll tell you what we have done. We need to bring a bit of gender balance in. Come on.
Oh right. Well, have we got Kathy from Canterbury? Kathy, hold on. Let me. Oh no, I've just unmute. Oh.
Okay.
You there, Kathy?
Hello?
Kathy? Can you hear me?
I'm here. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you tell me your experience in Canterbury?
Okay. I don't know what the signal might not be very good. I don't know.
I can hear you.
Well, okay. In 2017, there were a lot of activists out on the streets for Rosie Duffield, and we turned over I think they had a massive Tory majority of 27,000. She won by 187 votes. I don't know how it happened or what happened. I think a lot to do with the students. But since then, we've had Rosie Duffield claimed to be a socialist, but actually she's let us down massively. She undermined Corbyn repeatedly during the 2019 election. And a lot of us regret all the effort we put into getting her elected. She got a lot of funding from the party to get re-elected, and I'm wondering if it's the left-wing candidates that didn't get the support that they should have had. She's a right-wing candidate. We had an excess of funds. We had £10,000 surplus, which we wanted to divert to South Thanet for their campaign. And that was refused by region. So I'm very concerned about South East region. I think that we need to look not just at central headquarters, but also the regions and how they control the party so dreadfully. They clearly favour right-wing candidates. They've blocked every left-wing candidate around South Thanet in favour of Rosie Duffield. And they also blocked our chair and our secretary from organised for the election because they're on the left of the party. South Thanet party has been blocked from organised as well. So that it's really hamstrung us in campaigning and activism. And the left are really struggling to keep control of our branch. The right really are fighting to take it back. That's where we are.
All right. So it's you're detecting this kind of the Labour leak thing about it not just being the national party, but the regional parties are also not being helpful sometimes, which is my experience.
Absolutely not. They're doing worse than that. They're actually scuppering us.
Yeah.
They're scuppering our chances. And also, I want to know what we do about it, because I mean, okay, us all coming with our stories, but I want to change things, and I need to know how, really.
Well, we're going to. I think it's important that we collect the information about what the effect of that 2017 election funding was, because if there is evidence that Labour could have won and people from different constituencies can point the way that that's the case, then I think it needs a real change throughout the party, not only nationally, but the regions. And members like you and other members have to be given more authority and power to say, we don't need this money, we need to divert it somewhere else. All constituencies just need more funds generally.
Yeah.
Now, I've been we're all running over. Now, if we've got anyone, Mark, you're telling me who I should call next, isn't that right? Is there anyone from the chat who wants to speak?
Yeah, we've got Catherine Hughes has her hand up. I don't know if she wants to speak.
Yeah. Catherine, are you there, Catherine?
Hello there. Yes.
Can you tell?
First of all, I was very interested listening to Philip Newton. I live in High Peak now. I'm retired to High Peak, but I worked in Middlesbrough for some time, and I worked at Middlesbrough Council with Tracy Harvey and Barry Coppinger. So you brought back some memories there. My focus is in what are we going to do? You know, we're getting late into the discussion, and I think personally, I'd rather have an investigation into the actual report, not Keir Starmer's report. I mean, I'm afraid I've lost all trust with the rights of the party and these so-called leaders of the trade unions that have taken every member's subs and our membership fees and subverted them to scuttle the 2017 election. And I, like many, absolutely worked my socks off, and lots of other activists in 2017. And to know that we were being scuppered by our own party has left people absolutely flabbergasted. And this was an totally orchestrated coup. Even the coup in 2016 was totally orchestrated by Tom Watson and the others. And George Galloway had an interesting theory last night. He reckons it's all been led and orchestrated by Tony Blair. Now, you know, something makes sense. He said they were all following a leader, but not the party leader. And he reckons that it was, you know, the funny tinge party and Chukaramuna and all the rest of it, and change and the people's vote and all the rest of it was all put into muddy the waters, create smoke and mirrors, especially in the 2019 election. But the 2017 was so annoying. We were within 2,500 votes of Corbyn becoming Prime Minister, and that is so devastating. And I think we need to bring some stuff out into the open with these right-wingers.
We've got a minute now.
So what? Who's next, Mark? Who's next?
I've got a girl in called Mandy Clare.
Mandy Clare, right? Is she unmuted?
She's unmuted.
All right, Mandy, are you there?
Hi.
What's your story about 2017?
I was just going to bring the thing about funding and resources, the discrepancy between maybe parliamentary candidates where they were right-wing and also compared with left-wing, but also those that were closer to being won as against those that we already had in the bag. So with Chester, they had a massive, they had a paid coordinator, they had a massive staff team, and volunteer team from the students who'd been kind of nurtured by the right wing of the party. And also Momentum seemed to be drawing in a lot of support there, even though I did try to raise that. And when I went to campaign in Bolton West and other areas that didn't seem to be as well resourced, it was just very, very obvious that Chester office was flooded with volunteers around the clock, really well organised, really well resourced. Bolton West, they were doing their best to organise it, but they were doing it on a shoestring, and there were lots of volunteers turning up, but it wasn't as well organised because it couldn't be. Right. So that was just really notable, and I did suspect that there was something going on, and I did hear as well that an awful lot of money had been received by the office in Chester. They also had Tom Watson, Keir Starmer and a bunch of other similar people in that same vein going to the Chester office to help promote that parliamentary candidate as well. So it would be good if we could do a proper audit of exactly how much money went where, who visited where, what support was offered from the central team, and try and get that, as you'd suggested, I think reflect that in black and white as well, so that we can learn from that and make sure it doesn't happen again. But when I did try to raise it, I feel that all the people who were shouting for more volunteers, every day they was using every spare minute to pull Momentum volunteers to Chester, and other areas were losing out. And when I tried to raise that, I was really aggressively silenced on it. And even now, those people are regarded as more level-headed than I am, and more of an authoritative voice. And I think that social class comes into this as well. So within the party, if you've got working class people who are trying to make a point, quite often it can be assumed that they are being over the top, or they're being too radical, or they're being angry or whatever. Right. Your voice is heard differently depending on what social class you come from. So that they were the points that I wanted to make.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks.
We've got one in the waiting room, only one. It's a Gavin Robinson. I've unmuted him now.
Have you?
Well, try him. Right, okay.
Can you hear me? I just wanted to say that I've contacted Labour and said I'd like my money back for the last 3 years since being a member. I'm going to continue with Labour to obviously, hopefully, work for a better Labour government in the future. And I just don't think I should be paying for a party for the some senior members to actually try and lose and not win. I joined Labour to win, and that's really all I've got to say.
Oh, thank you, Gavin. Do we have anyone else, Mark?
No, we've got nobody in the chat room. Nobody waiting.
Okay, well, look, I mean, it's come to about 4:30, which is when we thought we'd finish the show. So what I think we'll do is we'll talk about the solution, possible ways we can resolve this in the next show. I wanted to hear as many people as possible, but it does seem to me that there's a lot of evidence that we could have actually won 2017. Won in 2017 if we had the right funding from the Central Party, if they hadn't been messing around trying to sabotage the leadership. So this is probably the most depressing and some people say nauseating story that anyone's read who's in the Labour Party for probably decades. I think you said that, Mark, didn't you? You've never seen anything like this?
Never.
It's unheard of. But I think we've got to do something about this. We shouldn't leave the party. We should keep fighting and working towards what we were so close to winning in 2017. And I'm going to finish the show with Robb Johnson. Is he there?
Yeah, hello.
Oh, you're there.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what I thought, I asked you to perform a certain song today because it's quite appropriate, not only because of the title of it, but also because it was Tony Benn's favourite song.
It was,
and yeah. You wrote it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good thing to have as put on your CV that you wrote Tony Benn's favourite song.
Yeah.
How did you find out about your, how he liked it and stuff?
Well, my friend Roy Bailey sang it, and he worked with Tony in that in the show together. Tony would do readings from history, and Roy Bailey would sing songs, and that's when Tony heard the song and told Roy it was his favourite song. So it was all due to the singing of Roy, my friend Roy Bailey.
So you don't think you could have made him like it if you'd sung it? I think you've got a lovely voice.
I think I've always been one of those kind of underfunded constituencies.
We're going to sort that out, Rob. We're going to sort that out. That funding.
Yeah, it's been a bit kind of like, oh God, don't give him any money. So yeah, yeah. So it's about a man who taught me at university. Turned out he had a really fascinating and inspiring life history. This guy called Edvard Goldstucker, who was he was sentenced to death he was a socialist, sentenced to death by Stalin, and it's about endurance.
Well, that's a good message for now.
I think it's important. I think it's very appropriate. Yeah, about endurance, and also Tony Benn said we have to keep fighting the same battles over and over again. But we have to endure, I think. I met a man who nothing could dismay, nor take away his dignity. A man who knew what 2 and 2 make and how. Many flowers make the spring. He saw spring crushed in 1939 beneath the wheels of Germany. Walked through all the falling cities somehow, like a seed towards the spring. Returning home in 1945, Prague was full of Russian tanks, and it was law, 2 twos of 4 only now. It's Joseph Stalin makes the spring. You have to know the difference between the roundabouts and the swings, no matter what the distance. Winter turns to spring. Sentenced to death in 1951 for being too much of a socialist. Surprise, surprise, old Stalin dies, and somehow still the flowers make the spring. Through the Cold War he studies Kafka and learns like Galileo to tell as much truth as the times allow, planting seeds towards the spring. You have to know the difference between the roundabouts and the swings, no matter what the distance. Winter turns to spring. So when spring came in 1968, Wenceslas was glorious, but with the summer, the Russian armour returns to save the people from their spring. I asked him then in his last exile, how come you're still a socialist? Ask me instead, he said, what 2 and 2 make and how. Many flowers make the spring. You have to know the difference between the roundabouts and the swings, no matter what the distance. Winter turns to spring. You see, from Prague to Santiago, Belfast to Beijing, underground and undefeated, winter turns, winter turns, winter turns, winter turns to spring.
There's a lot of clapping going on, but you can't hear it. I muted everyone so that it wouldn't ruin your sound on there. But thank you, everyone, thank you, Rob, and thank you to everyone who's contributed to today. Lots of people. Sorry if you didn't speak. I tried to get as many people in as I could. It's not easy. Could we all now do a chaotic round of applause for everyone on? I'm going to unmute all for half a minute, and please say hello to everyone, all your comrades across the country. I'll do that right now.
Unido, jamás será vencido.
Crispin. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Crispin.
Thank you, Crispin. Thank you, Biz.
Crispin.
See you on Wednesday.
See you on Wednesday. See you on Wednesday.
Outside the country in Labour International.
Camera's not working. Don't know what I've done wrong.